one is very clear that no, I want to be marketing, then you should experience all aspects of marketing, maybe across categories, across industry. Ideas exist right in front of you, but as one says, no, you miss the obvious. From a marketing perspective, data analytics playing a stronger role in the years to come, while the research would give a quantitative and perhaps some extent a qualitative input. But is what more important is understanding what are the sentiments on the ground. And when I say sentiment, is just not the feeling in terms of how do they see the present context and how are they charting their future.
Hey Lakshman, welcome to the podcast and thanks for your time.
Hey, hi Kavan. Thank you for having me on Marketing Mavericks. It's a pleasure, to interact with you.
The pleasure is all mine, and I wanted to start with asking you about your journey. I know you've been coined as one of the top CMOs in the country. You've been part of campaigns which have won like large awards like a Cannes. If I'm not wrong, way back when you were just figuring what to do, I don't think marketing was a formal education you undertook, right? So when is it that you decided you want to jump into marketing as a career choice?
Actually, I would credit this to the then MD and CEO of Shoppers Stop, Mr. Nagesh. I was the EA to Mr. Nagesh then. And so one day he said, Lakshman, no, where would you like to make your career in? So I kept pondering, and as a typical person, no, I started looking at each of the roles and I decided on the pros and cons. And I sat with Mr. Nagesh and said, no, see, here are the pros and cons, no, of each of the role. So probably these are two, three areas where I could fit in, and marketing was not the first choice. So he thought after some time, he said, okay, no, why don't you try marketing? I'll put you in marketing for a year. And then I got mentored under no Mr. who was then a head of marketing at Shoppers Stop, and that was how I got baptized into marketing. So no formal, I would say, learning into no understanding what are the basic concepts of marketing, no code learn nothing. No, just got onto marketing, trying to understand it. So everything is completely experience driven. Of course, over a period of time, I did pick up on the best of the minds in marketing as well as on leadership across. But I would credit to what I am today to all my bosses, across organizations, my teams, my well-wishers. I think it is their support at all points in time that has really helped me to be where I am today.
Incredible. I think a lot of people will dream of switching careers in the way you did so. If you take today's context into perspective, there are so many people graduating from formal courses, and the competition is cutthroat, right? For the right people to hire the right people. Do you
True.
think in today's particular time something like this is replicable, where let's say if I am somebody who's done finance and I'm genuinely excited in marketing, do you think a career switch will happen through a boss and mentorship, or will I have to enroll myself into a marketing course?
So, in my view, see, in today's VUCA world, you should be open to all available options. And being experimentative is very, very essential to discover more of yourself and what the environment has to offer. In a fast changing world, you may suddenly discover that there are multiple traits and aspects in you. Which you could put to use just not from a professional standpoint, but even as you grow as an individual. So one should keep looking out for opportunities. And of course, when you are young, you are very clear, no, this is what you want to be in life. But life may offer you far more opportunities and gamuts than what you may have thought of. So one should be open to all possibilities. And my belief is that yes, if one is very clear that no, I want to be marketing, then you should experience all aspects of marketing, maybe across categories, across industries. But if you believe that okay, I have had my share of marketing, no, but let me explore the other aspects of the organization, then those are opportunities that are available. And very often we realize that once we jump into it, you discover the strength in yourself. So it is important to look within oneself and have that confidence and faith that be it success or failures, there is always some learning that will emerge out of it, and it will prepare you for the next frontier.
Fantastic. I am somebody who believes in learning by experience, and I've actually learned a bunch of things of YouTube and just getting myself punched in the face by the market. But I have a lot of friends who are under the opinion that if I am going to be a leader in a company, especially a large company, these formal degrees come into play. And I thought it's a good opportunity to ask you, because you're CMO, you've headed one of the largest companies in India also, right, before this stint, and clearly it wasn't a barrier for you. So do you think this perception is true, that if you want to be a CMO CEO one day, you need to have a good pedigree?
See, pedigree matters maybe at the entry point level. No, for example, when I need to get into my first organization, and let's say that you don't have a great pedigree, but if you have it in you in terms of what it takes to be a good marketer, no, you will eventually find your way. Because when it comes to good ideas, okay, there's no dearth of good minds to listen to you. There's no dearth of no budgets or opportunities. I had in my entire career, I've never experienced a situation wherein no, I had a great idea and it was not supported. If budget is a constraint or environment is a constraint, it only tells you that no, you need to put on your thinking hats again and think more deeply and think more from a customer perspective, and probably that would help us get a better insight and a far more better brand recall and throughput.
Fantastic. Couldn't agree more with you. I want to now discuss awards with you. A lot of agencies, and I'm in the business, as you know, of aggregating creative talent, love those award briefs, because that's where you do storytelling and you don't really have to do a hard sell of the brand. And I know that you folks did win a Cannes for your Shagun Ka Lifafa campaign. By the way, loved the whole concept and the way you went about it.
Thank you so much.
I want to ask you two things. One is winning awards a important strategy? Like, does it move anything for the business, or is it more like a personal milestone one should keep in mind?
In fact, it is both because see, winning a Cannes Award tells me that that opportunity exists. No, there's a white space that exists in terms of tapping into a business opportunity. In terms of winning awards on campaigns that you've undertaken which have impacted business positively, is a great morale booster for the individual and the team per se. And even for the marketing fraternity, when they look at these awards or these campaigns, no, it triggers lot many thoughts and ideas. No, it opens a space, mind space, in terms of no, how could one think differently. So in my view, awards is a platform. More than the awards, it is an aspect of understanding how others think. How differently can one think and how can one make an impact, which means that sky is the limit if you choose to think in the right way. Very often I have realized that ideas exist right in front of you, but as one says, no, you miss the obvious. So, and when you look at some of the campaign award winning campaigns, you realize, wow, the customer insight was so simple and so obvious, but they managed to pick it up and translate it into a wonderful campaign. So when you look at such great marketing minds and no great, those campaigns, it propels you to benchmark yourself on a better level, not just within your own category but across categories.
Fantastic. A lot of people really aspire to be in a place where you have been, which is winning such awards for themselves. Like, it's a job. I'm constantly talking to founders of creative studios or creative directors in companies, and they keep on saying, before I die, I want a Khan. So for all of those folks out there, what really goes into building such an award-winning campaign? Over the years, have you learned some mechanics of things you should do, which will help you?
So, Kavan, there is no one such formula per se, but in my view, I think we should treat all our partners as team members. It is very important to look at what the ideas that they bring to the table, and very often, you'll find agencies. Now, in this case, thanks to McCann Worldwide, no, they came up with the thought saying, "Now, can we explore this?" And the point was that this really was not in the space, but I said, "No, let's explore." I think being experimented and being open to the idea that no, something is possible. And when we did this campaign, this pilot, no, we were not working from an award perspective. We said, "No, let's try, let's put this together and no, send it out." For us the joy of doing that campaign and picking up the learning from the campaign was far more immense. No, and the award that came was the bonus or the bonanza to it. So when we deliberate, when we collaborate, we work closely, just not with the agency partners, but internally along with the businesses. It is very important to understand their perspective, their views, and of course one needs to understand the macro environment in which we operate and know what are the what are the sensitivities and that exist in that particular society or community. So when you put all of them together and try to understand, how is the customer lensing the whole perspective, then the insight itself is so powerful and rich that you feel as if you have discovered a hidden gem. And of course, when translates into a campaign or an initiative, no gives you the desired output out there. So for us, no for how important it is to keep the customer at the center. Easier said than no doing it, because customer centricity is a often used word, but very often when you work on campaigns or thoughts, very more often than not, it is an inside out approach. So it is very important, to stop that view and go back and think, is that what the customer is really looking for? Is that the really the pain point or the opportunity of the customer? So I think it is that thought process that translates. So the only winning formula is that, no, can you wear the customer hat and then start thinking? I'm sure ideas will emerge.
No, I mean, I couldn't agree more on that front. And now I want to jump into asking you about, Jeevan, you were in a large bank, ICICI, which is one of the largest, if not the largest in the country. And then you joined, I believe, a new model. I wanted to see if you can give a quick intro, directly from the CMO on what is it that you folks do and how is it different from traditional banking.
Okay, so Ujjivan is primarily into serving the unserved and the underserved communities in India. So these are the two key customer segments for us. Ujjivan came into being from an NBSE MFI into a bank, primarily because one, it was microfinance so bank, and we had 45 lakh customers when we onboarded ourselves as a bank. So it was important to bring state of the art banking to people who knew little about banking or had never heard about banking. The idea was that our belief is that everyone has a right to aspire for their dreams, and they have the right to live it and realize it. And finance is one important aspect, which means that either saving or credit, in whichever form you see it, everyone has a right to access to it. And as long as they are committed to honoring it, I think everyone is deserving to use finance as an enabler towards realizing their dreams and goals in life. So it is this and the fact that somewhere by doing this, you are also contributing to the nation, because every section of the society needs to become economically prosperous for the nation on the whole to emerge as a powerhouse. So if we are thinking of being a developed nation tomorrow, every aspect of the society needs to progress. So it is with that thought and purpose that Ujjivan was born. So when we became a bank in 2017, we onboarded 45 lakh microfinance customers as micro banking customers. That means we opened them savings account, and so we had a twofold objective. One is we had to educate our customers to tell them what banking was all about, which a typical traditional universal bank is not required to do, because your savings account, FD, and all other financial instruments are more or less known in a to a metro or an urban customer. But when the customer segments that we were speaking to, we had to educate them on what banking was all about. We launched a financial literacy program called Diksha, where close today, as we speak, close to 10 lakh customers have been educated on the basics of banking all across. And more importantly, we also undertook community-led initiatives under the program called Chote Kadam, along with Parinam Foundation, where we, along with the customers, identified projects in the branch catchments, which would really help them. For example, rebuilding a school, or or a bus shelter, or a community hall, anything that would really help the customers, and the community at large. So it was twofold. One is, imbibe the aspect of banking, why saving is very important, and what are the different forms of saving. The fact that, no, they could take a loan, they're eligible for a loan, at a certain price, and they could realize their dreams. And third, an important aspect that, as community members, there is something that we need to give back to the society. So these are the threefold aspects that led Ujjivan move from strength to strength at all points in time. And as we
Got
speak
it.
today, we have close around 86 lakh customers on Fold across 26 states. So that means we are the only small finance bank in the country to be geographically present in almost all the states with such a large base. And as we speak now, with liability customers, that is our savings and deposit customers coming onto our fold, it is a much larger community because now we have a combination of metro, urban, and semi-urban customers in our fold.
Incredible. I think it's definitely the need of the hour, and I'm so glad that it's scaling so well. uh, I was always wondering that it must be so hard to develop trust with your customer. Any which ways, it's a customer which doesn't usually trust the banking model, at least from whatever I've heard in the market. And then you are also selling like services like a bank, and your competition is a lot of, I wouldn't say competition, but they're aware of a lot of legacy government owned companies, where there is so much trust with them innately. So how do you overcome such a challenge? Clearly you scaled so much, it's worked for you. Maybe for anybody who's building a product or building something in a place where there is trust deficit, what can they do from a marketing lens to bridge that gap of trust?
In fact, there was a very interesting anecdote that Mr. Shomit Ghosh, who is the founder of Ujjivan, shared with us, saying that when we were a microfinance, giving out loans was easier. So customers said, "Great, you're giving me loans, so I'm happy to take it." And when we became a bank, and when we went back to those customers and said, "No, open a savings account and put in your money," the first thing they asked is, "What's in it for me?" So the entire perception about the customer changed. The fact that the day they had to invest their monies, he said, "No, how do I see?" They were trying to understand banking. No, how do I know that my money is safe? No, how can I take it out when it's needed the most? No, where can I take it out from? Who can help me out? So initially, it was quite a journey for us, to establish ourselves. And so they they had the other challenge saying, "Oh, small finance bank, what are you? No, are you like other banks?" So there were multifold challenges that we faced, but then it required a lot of patience and persistence to be with our customers, to educate them, to make them realize why it is important, to save money for the future. And when we gave them simple like customer testimonials or examples of what are the benefits that accrue to one, when you save money over the short, medium, and the long term. I think they understood it well and they started picking it up. And the fact that when they realized that their standard of life has improved considerably, one thanks to the loans, and two, now the fact that they could earn and save money and earn interest on it. So be it deposits or be it savings account, the attractive interest rates started um, 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 made them start looking at it as a attractive investment option. So that's something that helped them, and thanks to the proliferation of social media and the digital wave that happened, especially post COVID, I think their ability to understand financial instruments from different mediums, from different perspectives, has only helped banks progress much faster and better.
Understood. Understood. I've seen from your communication and also our past conversation that increasingly the urban population has become a majority chunk of your customers. But at the same point in time, I believe you also do efforts to go to tier two, tier three, tier four, and a lot of other geographies. So, in such a case, when you're a marketer talking to such different sets of people, selling a homogeneous set of products, what
Correct.
usually works as a strategy, right? How do you ensure that you are being perceived as the right fit for both those ideal customer profiles?
So, Kavan, one thing is very simple that you talk in the local language. Our customer base, which is more so in the urban and the semi-urban, realize is that no, our traditional apps don't right. So Ujjivan was the first bank to introduce voice visual vernacular app. for our micro banking and the rural customers. So you could just speak into the app, and you could know what your balance is, what are your statements, mini statements. You could open an FD. Now we have ability to give them a top up loan just on the through the app. So it is a big boon for them, because earlier, they had to rely on someone to help them read through or write through, the mobile banking or the internet banking application. With Hello Ujjivan, which is a voice-based app, life has become much easier. And we have just introduced our WhatsApp and chatbot services. That means that much makes it that much more easier in reaching out to the consumer, because WhatsApp is the medium through which they live their lives day in day out. So we hope that reaching out to where the consumer is or where our customer is, will benefit not only us but any other bank or any other brand, who wants to serve their customers well.
Understood. I think from the last two bits, what I'm understanding is showing value, pushing for convenience, and obviously talking the same language always works out. On the language part, right? Usually, I have seen a lot of companies try the whole vernacular part. Localized ad campaigns, localized content for various geographies. But it happens to be a central team in India who looks after all of that. So how do you get context? How do you approve a delivery in the first place if you don't even yourself understand the language? I was keen to know, how have you solved that problem, which a lot of marketers suffer through?
So while there's a central team which looks at the entire branding initiative, as well as all creatives get done centrally, but we have the regional marketing teams. So first is, as I said, it is important, to take inputs from everyone. So when I say we work with our stakeholders, it is just not the product and business teams at the corporate office, but we also liaise with the business and the marketing teams at the regional level. So one, we try to understand, what are the consumer insights, what are the cultural norms that exist, in those particular societies and regions. And first we try to get an understanding and insight into that, and basis that the brief gets developed. So once the brief is very clear in terms of what is the messaging that needs to go out to that particular customer or that community, it becomes much easier in terms of developing the entire campaign or that particular initiative. Very important is that you need to trust your regional teams, and you need to give them the benefit of doubt, when it comes to designing regional led creatives, or even creatives which need to have a strong regional flavor, because they understand the nuances. And as a marketer, while I'm often tempted to be very experimentative and be bold, but experience tells me that it is important to respect the customer sentiments and the cultural norms that exist, and be with the time. And of course, where it's a social norm that you strongly believe that needs to change, I think then you should go that extra mile, and reach out to them.
Fantastic. Uh, if I were to ask you, let's say I'm building a BFSI product for the underserved community today, do you think it'll be better for me to start with a language like English or Hindi? Or do you think I should particularly plan a certain geography and talk in a local language or communicate in a local language?
Okay, so local language is the preferred option, but it depends on what the consumer is using. For example, our websites are still in English, while our apps are in multiple languages. In phone banking, we speak 13 languages. Our IVR is in 9 languages. So where the customer is interacting, you need to give them a choice. And while language was the first choice, today the channels are multiple choices. For example, I have the option to go on to chatbot. I can go on to WhatsApp. I can go on to phone banking. I can go down to video banking. Then I have the internet and mobile banking. So you give the customer the choice in terms of where and when you want to interact. Our digital savings account and digital FD products can help you open both of them online directly. Okay, that means that we respect customers' time, we respect the customer's priorities, and we give the customer the choice and the convenience of choosing how they want to bank with us at any point in time. And this is true for every other bank. But the point is my conversation with them seamless across channels? Okay, am I able to pick the thread from where the customer left on one channel and reconnect onto a different channel and serve them better? Now, thanks to AI, I think we have begun the journey. Some of them have achieved it. We have just begun our journey. But I'm confident that no, eventually we will reach that point where the consumer will see value from that perspective. And the second piece is respecting the privacy of the customer. So today, all of us are bombarded on messages on social media, on SMS, on email, on WhatsApp. The point is, can we understand how the consumer behavior is, and understand that the customer is predominantly on a particular set of channels, and you stay communicated only on those channels and not bombard them across 24 by 7 in terms of all the messages. So it is important to be relevant, meaningful, choose the right medium where the customer sees value, saying that yes, I think this bank understands me or this brand understands me better. So I see from a marketing perspective, data analytics playing a stronger role in the years to come, pushing us to exercise caution and dig in for a greater level of insight so that the customer sees value in what we offer to them from time to time.
Makes sense, makes sense. I wonder, we are going into a world, especially in the TG you mentioned, which is going to be vernacular or localized, and also mainly driven by voice. A big part of marketing is to actually understand customer experience, right? Which you look at things like NPS for or reviews for. Um, how do you do that in your particular target group, right? Because I think a lot of people, I don't know, do they intuitively understand, okay, on 0 to 10 how much you'd recommend me, or are there other ways you ask people on do you like me in their own local languages?
So we also have the same indexes, customer satisfaction scores, NPS. No, we are gone very much with the same norms that other banks do. But see, the customer is very intelligent. It is just that the language that they speak is different. But the customer is extremely intelligent and they know exactly what they want. So it would be fallacious to assume that no, the customer doesn't understand. And especially when it comes to feedback, the kind of insights that you can get be really breathtaking sometimes. And so it is important to ask the right set of questions. So that's what I've realized, that if we want to have the right answers, it is important to ask the right questions. And when you speak the local language, it makes it that much more easier in terms of having conversations. It's just not from a banking perspective, you get to understand the customer better in terms of their persona, their lifestyle, the challenges, and the opportunities that lie ahead of them.
Awesome, awesome. On the tracking part, Lakshman, you Ujjivan has been talking about financial inclusion, right? And I wonder if that's a core mission and vision of the company, and we are doing a lot of activities to reach that. How is it that you are able to track that particular thing in terms of, hey, I did a few activities in marketing. How is it that I'm able to attribute those activities to the actual goal of financial inclusion? I wanted to know how you track that.
So while Ujjivan began with the purpose of financial inclusion, I would add one more dimension, which is financial and digital inclusion. See, because it is important for a organization to remain sustainable and profitable. And what better way than imbibing digital into the financial inclusion space? And that's something that the customer has demonstrated well during COVID. So that's one piece. While we have a traditional marketing metrics, especially on performance marketing, what business has come through website, what leads, what land views have come in. On BTL, what businesses you have generated in terms of leads. No, far more important is to understand, how the consumer behavior is evolving. For example, uh, while all of us have segmented our customers, and no, we continue to have different approaches for metro, urban, semi-urban, and rural customer. But India is very a diverse land, and the behavior changes every 50 or 100 kilometers. So what may work in one location may not work in another area. It is important to maintain that hyper local approach across in whatever you design. So even in all our initiatives, be it marketing or otherwise, we always take a bottom-up approach. So we go to the branches, we try to understand what is the pulse of the market? What is the pulse of the customer on the ground? So while we have the traditional no research studies that we undertake, in parallel we also try to understand on the ground what's happening, and that is equally an important factor. So while the research would give a quantitative and perhaps to some extent a qualitative input, but is what more important is understanding what are the sentiments on the ground. And when I say sentiments, is just not the feeling in terms of how do they see the present context and how are they charting their future, because the present and their future determines how the bank no will collaborate with them and ensure that it's a success for them. In fact, it's a success for all of us.
Absolutely. I love that you highlighted this, which is go on the ground and talk to your customers, right? I feel a lot of times marketing teams get siloed into their, nice, fancy corporate park buildings, and they're trying to build for Bharat, and there's a huge disconnect. So, can you unpack a little? Can you rather highlight this a little bit more, right? Um, how important is it talking to the customer, and if you can tell me how you plan for it, right? Who actually goes and talks to the customer, what kind of data are they sending back, and how do you actually make actionable insights on top of that? If you could share a little bit more.
See, while marketing is the brand custodian, the brand is owned by 22,000 Ujjivanites. So when we say we get consumer insight, it is just not from the marketing team. We have the branch managers, we have the area managers, we have the sales operations, the support teams. All of them have their inputs from time to time. So we reach out to them to understand how they lens the customer, and each of them lens it very differently. Okay, so it's when you put the two and two together, then something starts emerging. Now, sometimes, more often than not, no, you don't have a 100% clear picture. But even if you have a 60 to 70% indicator of how the consumer is thinking, that gives you some insight into how we can build and take it forward. And I think that is far more true for an FMCG. I think they are the kings in this space. They understand that space. I think we are inspired by them, to be driven in that direction. So I think that's why it's important, to keep connected across categories. There's a lot to learn, from other categories, and as Ujjivan and as we continue to be on the learning mode. So sometimes we get it right, sometimes we learn from our mistakes.
Last part I wanted to check here, I think what also happens, especially with young companies, is some people listen a lot to their customers, and a lot of anything can also be a little bit harmful. As we have the very famous quote of Henry Ford that, if I asked my customer what he wanted, he'd say, I want a faster horse. So sometimes, your customer may not actually tell you what you need to create next. So, what's your opinion here? What's the balance between talking to your customer and giving them what they want versus also deciding based on your expertise on what you should offer to them?
Two aspects matter when you look at yourself, your organization, your brand, and the customer. Trust and progress is very important. So, in that aspect, the trust factor is very important. You need to trust yourself. While you will get all forms of inputs and data from all sources, at the end of the day, you need to trust your instincts. And that's what I think will continue to be the differentiator between what we as humans will deliver versus what AI will deliver. Okay, this differentiating factor of trying to understand your instincts, call it basic instincts, call it intuition, or whichever way it is, this will continue to rule, and this will stay forever. And if you have seen the human evolution, it has happened more by instincts rather than someone actually designing. I mean, you got the trend and then you added data inputs and all those things and you build it up further, but the initial seed was sown by the instincts, either through a person or through a community or through a movement, and this will remain true as long as the human history is alive.
Oh, that's so well put. I also fully believe in that, where I think often there are a lot of times you can learn best practices and optimize and make wealth or be successful. But if you really want to be disruptive, you have to do something which nobody has done before. And I think that's very intuition based, and a lot of confidence based than actually doing what AI does. Um, I want to now move a little bit away, from Ujjivan, and I wanted to actually check with you on your insights on creating a customer engagement program. I know at ICICI you did a very successful one with something called the Creative Masters, and I believe it had over 100,000 plus entries. So, could you tell a little bit more about why customer engagement as a program is important to a marketing function, and how a marketing leader like you plans for it and makes it successful?
See, customer engagement program is a way of to knowing your customer better or telling your customer that you care. Because every time if I were to meet up with you, how often do I talk about my products and services? An engagement program tells me that here is an opportunity for us to discover more of you, and here is our way of saying that no, we really care for you. So engagement programs are a way of manifesting, the fact that we walk the talk. So while Creative Masters was one big program, uh, uh, many organizations and brands continue to do it at a local level, and the engagement program is a conversation starter or a conversation builder. So that's where you discover more about the consumer, about the family, and you realize that no, there are so many things that you could help the customer with, just not with your products and services, but as I mentioned, how do you contribute to the community at large? At the end of the day, banking is all about relationships, but more importantly, being human means that you need to stay invested in relationships, because at the end of the day it is the relationships that holds you when you are on the low, and it is the same set of relationships which will accolade and acknowledge you when you are on your high. So it is important to build these bonds, not just from a professional or a business perspective, but more importantly, from the fact that if anyone can make a difference on this planet Earth in a very big way, it is we humans, and that will happen only if we work together in a very collaborative way. So if we were to keep all our you know missions and goals aside and see, as a community, how do we elevate ourselves? No one will have a single formula. It is when you put multiple minds together, that the formula emerges. So investing in relationships is a good cause, because it will do us better in the long run, and we need to leave a good example for the posterity, to believe that what we inherited, we are handing it over to them on a much better platform. No, so that is very important. So if we truly believe that we need to set a benchmark and that we need to be qualitatively much better, far said than done, because the shape in which our planet is today, yes, no, we have our challenges, but that's something that we need to stay invested, just not on from an environment perspective, but even in terms of being social, sustainable. From all those perspectives, it is important, to work in the spirit of one ship at all points in time.
Got it. I must ask you that what how much patience should one marketer have when they're doing a engagement program like this? Because what I've seen often is that everybody wants to create value first. They want to warm up the leads, build a relationship, and then sell. But because of the pressure, they do it for the heck of it. They do it for a very small time. They're not able to build only that, and then they end up blowing a lot of money and wasting a lot of energy. So in your years of experience, like, what's the right approach towards doing such a campaign? How much time should I invest into it? How much lead time should I have, and how much patience should I show?
Okay, let me draw an analogy to nature. If you look at how nature has blossomed or nurtured itself, it has been a slow and steady pace. Okay, and very very often I've realized that when you are in tune with nature is when the best of you comes out. So, in my view, it is a slow and steady, pace. Anything that you have achieved at a faster pace is bound to fall down one day. Anything that is slow and steady and on a permanent footing, will continue to stay with you. and that has been true in every walk of life, be it your personal life, be it your professional life, in your communities across. And there examples are replete in life, when you look at across organizations, not just professional organizations, but even if you look at institutions which have been built across the country, they have grown slowly and steadily. So there has been quite a struggle in terms of getting resources, getting the right set of people, getting the right environment, to really get good things into action. So it is always a slow and steady pace. But as the old adage goes, slow and steady wins the race. So I believe you will need enormous amount of patience and persistence, and the belief that no, there is a force beyond you which will help you in realizing your objectives, because you are in for a cause that is far greater, or that transcends you and your near your surroundings.
I think fantastic advice. I'm going to touch upon this, towards the end for sure. Um, but before that, I want to now get into understanding the creative production stack. Right, you've been in multiple companies at various scales. Very often, marketers have to create high-scale content production, for all their plans. A lot of times, advice is outsource it. Like you said, the FMCG sector does a great job of having an outsourced entity. A lot of times that happens in house, and many people are confused today, with increasing agency costs and more frugality required in the P&L. What's the right approach for me? So could you unpack what's your ideal creative production stack? What do you outsource? What do you do it in house?
See, in my view, while there is no one fixed formula, but I think consumer insight should stay with you. You can take the help of research agencies, but at the end of the day, you need to be on the ground. You need to have your ear on the ground to understand how the consumer behavior is evolving. When it comes to delivering campaigns or campaign thoughts, it is best that is outsourced, because as much as you bring a set of skill sets, others equally bring one out there. So it is important, and you need. I think more importantly, you need to empower. Whether it's in-house or outsourced, you need to empower and you need to be experimentative. You need to take that. When I say risk within the guidelines or the guides that is available for everyone, it is important to stay. So there is no such formula. For example, when we go with a problem statement or an opportunity to our agency or creative agency, um, they come up with wonderful ideas, not because that is their forte. Then how do you sit with and then present it to the business team and see if you can draw some more insights? How can you get them complemented? So, or for that matter, as I said, languages. When you talk about languages, the whole thing is in-house. So while the first set comes from the agency in terms of the first level, but the whole thing is vetted in the regions. Nuances, as I said, certain words, certain way of saying it, all of them get vetted. So it's always a collaborative space. In some cases, the our own team does the translation. In some cases, when it's critical, we seek expertise. For example, we have internal designers, who do most of our internal creatives on the campaigns, so that they have the leeway in the space because they understand the space better. They understand what's happening in the organization. They understand what are the tone, tonality, style. Much easier and faster to roll them out. But when it comes to customer campaigns, it is important you have a creative agency that really understands the brand essence, the brand personality. So, and for example, when we are on ground, we have a lot of initiatives. No, we do liaise with many of our vendor partners who are very good in terms of execution. So the point is, at what stage will you hold on to strategy, and at what level will you give out your execution? So one needs to evaluate what is your strength and what is your partner's strength. I think that is the key to determining which part will get outsourced and which part you will retain.
Oh, explained very well. I think, if I can conclude, take the intelligence from your end, but all your special campaigns can happen with a partner. But for speed and efficiency, I think the BAU work, and everything around that is better to be done in house. It'll also be more cost effective. So fully, resonate with that as well. A lot of people who watch our podcast, Lakshman, are agency founders, and whenever I have the opportunity to speak to a CMO like you, I would love to know, how do you differentiate a great agency from a average agency? What do you look for?
No, our formula is very simple. We give them a simple brief and ask them to come back with an idea. We ask them to do a blue sky thinking. I said, forget the brand, forget. I mean, just understand. We give a brief of what Ujjivan stands for. He said, forget the colors, forget all those things. Just come up with an idea. And no fancy presentations. No, give a two-page document in terms of what you think you could do. And our experience is that no, there is no good or bad agency. The important thing is how good is your brief. Sometimes even the smallest agencies can give you a brilliant idea, and sometimes even the best of the agencies cannot crack it. So it is important, as I said, it is important to trust that partner, saying that something good will come out of it. Not, of course, not you don't succeed every time, but very often in our experience, give them an opportunity. You give them a serious brief, and I'm sure I've seen good results come out of it.
Fantastic. So, basically, ideas are extremely powerful. If your ideas are good and they resonate and they work, then I think the world's your oyster. Do you think that it is a little bit risky though when you have a big campaign coming up, and let's say there is somebody who's given an idea, while their idea is good, maybe they don't have chops to execute, but you have at the other end a large agency who you already work with, who has done hundreds of campaigns in a year, but maybe the idea didn't work well. So in such a situation, who do you trust more?
No, it is important. See, what are the vibes? What are the cultural vibes? No, are you comfortable, no, interacting with them? At the end of the day, it is your instincts. Of course, the idea is powerful, but it is your instincts that matter. Saying that, no, I think, we can do something good can come out of it. And, we will work this out. When that thing comes, no, whatever may be the challenges you may have to surmount, you will find a solution. You will find a way out of it. So I strongly believe that we are no more in the age of no big and small agencies. We are in the age of where no agencies who have great ideas, and that opens
I love
lot
that.
many opportunities.
I love that. I think I'm going to steal that line from you, if you don't mind me asking.
By all means.
But that's definitely something I totally also believe that's the future. And we're seeing that, with some fantastic people. I mean, there's a popular example of like a Tanmay Bhatt and his small team of people who are really making big board members in big agencies sweat, because they're winning over all their work, just being friends and sitting in a room and having fun with the
Right.
briefs. Um, Now, just heading towards the last part of our podcast, and I think I have two questions to talk about. You just mentioned instinct, and we've spoken about AI a couple of times now. I wanted to understand, from your experience. Obviously, we all know AI is here to stay. We have to embrace it. But what happens with AI is that as long as you ask the right question in the right use case is when it'll deliver value.
True.
So what have you seen, especially in the BFSI category, especially for marketing? Where do you think AI is going to play a very important role?
If anyone has seriously translated AI into a great campaign, it is Cadbury's. I think for me that is the benchmark. Uh, we have just begun our journey. We are just trying to understand how to look at AI, and eventually or hopefully we will integrate that into our brand initiatives. But I think the insight for Cadbury's, and I presume, would have come from the data, the fact that they wanted to make a difference among their stakeholders, among their customers. They wanted to do something differently. So I think while the concept would have been from marketing, it would have required considerable effort from all functions across to put that campaign on such a large scale and make it happen. So I think if AI has to be successful, much more closer collaboration among functions is important. Marketing needs to understand business better. Marketing need to understand the nuances, or what are the trigger points that will help business accelerate, or what are the points that are likely to slow down the business, and how adaptive will marketing be to assisting business in helping them meet their objectives, while at the same time helping the brand build in its own way. So I think rather than just looking at AI as AI, look at know what are the business challenges and opportunities and the brand challenges and opportunities that are there, and how will you leverage AI in that space. So look at the problem or the opportunity and see if AI can help you, rather than trying to say no, okay, I need to use AI, no, let me use AI here and there. So I'm sure I'll get successes, but I don't think it will be a well laid out strategy and no followed by a seamless execution.
You speak to the specific target group in India, which generally is perceived as people who are the last adopters, right? But I feel it was also the case because whenever adoption happened, it happened at a very hardware level, right? And connectivity level, where there was no hardware and connectivity available only for the major audience. But now we've crossed that threshold and the penetration is high, and companies like yours are leveraging it brilliantly well. So when a chat GPT comes, or I'm sure even in the future, all companies will have their own GPTs, how they have their own websites. Do you feel the audience you're speaking to would feel this is too complicated, or you think even they'll be very easy to adopt to such things?
See, when internet opened and YouTube opened, did anyone teach any one of us how to use YouTube? No.
No.
The customer saw in it what's in it for me and picked it up. So again, we have to go back to the same question and ask yourself, while it is nice to introduce so many channels, look at it and lens it from a customer perspective and ask what's in it for them. If you can find an answer to it, you will find adoption on the channel.
Incredible. As long as there is value, they'll use it. I think that's been the highlight of today's podcast. Now, coming to the last question, and you'd mentioned this just some time ago. So I actually wanted to end the podcast on that perspective, or on that note, that you mentioned that uh, uh, you need to be slow and steady. And if you actually look at data, the biggest companies are the ones who followed that process majorly, in India especially, and even the world. But when you look at marketeers coming out today, and I'm one of the people who was, I would say, a victim of this mentality, where when I started the company in my 12th grade about a decade ago, it was all about move fast, break things, and what is revenue first, get market share. And people were chasing market share, and it's just not the business model for India. Once you have a market share doesn't mean you can monetize. Value, as you very well mentioned, is always something which people miss out for on market share. And that's why what's happened is that there's a lot of companies today who have still not figured out CAC and LTV, who are hiring people in marketing, who are creating strategies in marketing, and just generally, I believe, quote unquote, spoiling the way marketing is supposed to happen, right? So, what's your particular take here, right? If you had to advise a lot of marketers today who are in a fast paced, hyper growth startup, right? How do they make sure that their marketing is strategic in nature, and that they're actually doing work which will eventually make a profit from all their activities?
Very good question, Kavan, but there is no one answer to it, because when I say slow and steady, it doesn't mean that no whatever you do or whichever activities you do need to be no slow. For example, it is important to understand why you are doing what you are doing. So that has to be slow and steady. But once you have found the insight, then you need to move in rapidly. Okay, so if startups have understood why and what they are doing, then it makes eminent sense to move in rapidly. Okay, because then it's a question of no replicating this across, because you want more customers to benefit, and as an organization you also want many customers, you want to increase your market share, you want to increase your profitability, and that is absolutely fine. But the pitfall is when you don't know why you're doing, or you believe that this is a possibility and let's try it out, and you invest huge amount of time, effort, and money, and it does not yield the desired result, then it causes a lot of heartburns. So the what and why is very important. The why part is very very important. So till such very often, as I said, it requires tremendous patience and persistence. So that's where you need to slow down and say, have I understood what I am doing, or why am I doing? No, is it really benefiting the customer? And that is why in today's world, I strongly believe that no, the combination of slow and fast is experiment a lot, do lots of pilots, okay, and test them out, okay, on a small scale. So you are investing money. You will realize some of them work, some of them don't work. There'll be a lot of learnings that will emerge from them, and then you will be able to scale faster. So let's say that 10 years back, if I was doing say 4 campaigns a year, I think I should be doing 40 or 50 campaigns, every year. Try different methods, try different techniques, see what works, what doesn't. Which means that you need to be open to failure. You need to embrace failure. You need to reward failure, and also accept the fact that no, out of the 40 investments that you have done, maybe four will emerge successfully, but those four will pay off for this 40 and the next 100.
Fantastic. I think very well put, and a great way to conclude the podcast. I think we discussed a bunch of things which will really help a bunch of folks out. So thanks a lot for your time once again, Lakshman. I hope you enjoyed the podcast today.
Oh, I really enjoyed speaking to you, Kaman, and I hope that your viewers and your fan followers will benefit from this conversation.
Thank you so much. I'm assuming a lot of the people tuning in will be your fans only. So I hope they will. And on that note, I think everybody who's stuck along till now, thanks a lot for waiting till the end. If you'd like to hear one more amazing marketing leader like Lakshman, please like, share, and subscribe. We'll have a new episode coming out very, very soon.